Do you have a dirty serger at home that you've been neglecting to clean because you're just a little bit hesitant on what to touch on your air threader? Well, in today's video, I'm going to show you how to clean and oil your air threader from the beginning to the end so that you feel comfortable in keeping your machine in tip-top shape. Hey guys, it's David from Gigi's Fabric Shop, home to Juki and Janome Junkies. And in today's video, I'm going to show you how to clean and oil your Juki air threader so you're confident that your serger is going to last you for many, many years. Now in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to clean and oil the MO1000, the 2000, the 2800, and the MO3000. In today's demonstration, I'm going to be using the MO3000. However, you're going to use the same exact concepts on this machine to your machine. Sure, there's going to be a few things that might be a little bit different, but use the same exact concept that I'm applying on this machine to your machine. So without further ado, let's get started on cleaning this machine. Before we get started on cleaning, let's go over the supplies we're going to need for this process. The first thing we're going to need is cleaning swabs. These cleaning swabs are fantastic. They help pull lint and debris right off the machine, and it sticks to the end of these cleaning swabs. They come in a pack of 25. You can pick them up on jukijunkies.com. We'll put a link in the description. The next thing you can use in place of these cleaning swabs is just a little brush. And sometimes it's nice to have a brush and the cleaning swabs to kind of work with them together. The next thing you might want is a small little vacuum. We don't have one with us today, but I might put a link in the description for a vacuum attachment if you guys are interested in one. That'll help suck and pull the lint off the machine, and you can use that. You definitely don't want to use an air compressor. That is not for you to use at home, as it's going to blow lint and debris in places you can't reach, causing your machine to get dirtier than cleaner. So we definitely don't want to use any compressed air or any air cans to blow the lint and debris out. You're just going to want to brush it or use these cleaning swabs to help pull it out, or a vacuum. The next thing we're going to be using is some oil. Now you can use any type of sewing machine oil. In today's video, we're going to be using our Defrix #1 oil. We have these available on jukijunkies.com in 2 ounce and 4 ounce, and even in like 900 milliliter bottles that are really big. So you can check this out. We'll put a link in the description. The next product we're going to be using is the Juki oiling pen. This is a very important thing to have in this process when we get to oiling, because it controls how much oil we put on certain areas so we don't over oil the machine. These are also available on our website. We'll put a link in the description. The next product we're going to need is going to be a T-screw or a flathead screwdriver. This is going to be for removing our stitch plate. So if you have one of these, they come with the machine. If you don't, of course, we'll put a link in the description for these as well. So now that we have all the supplies we need to get started on cleaning and oiling our air threader, let's get started on what we're going to do first. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove my foot and go ahead and remove my stitch plate. So to remove the stitch plate, it's very simple. You're just going to use your T-screw and rotate these flatheads to the left. And I like to just break them loose, and then what I'll do is I'll literally just use my fingers to rotate them. It's much quicker than using the T-screw. And I'll go ahead and just put these in a safe little spot. So once you remove the stitch plate, the biggest thing is going to be inspecting these little pins. You want to make sure that there is no jagged edges, or it looks like needle strikes, or they're missing, because these are very important in making sure you have beautiful stitches. The next thing we're going to do, now that we have the foot, the needle plate, and everything out of the way there, is we're going to go ahead and start opening up these doors. So we have this side door here and this front door. Once you open up both of these doors, you have now exposed pretty much all of the mechanisms and metal components that are moving around, creating all the beautiful, amazing functions on a serger. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to grab your cleaning swab or the brush that comes with your machine right here in this little door, and you're just going to start cleaning and delinting everything in this whole area, and using your cleaning swab brush to wipe around different areas and wipe off lint and debris. Now keep in mind, this is a brand new machine, so there's not really much to be cleaning on this machine, but you're going to want to be cleaning all over. The one thing that you don't want to do is obviously be pushing down and really putting a lot of pressure on these loopers, or pushing in little springs and trying to push them around and clean them super hard. You just want to be very light and gentle with the machine and try to get as much lint and debris off of it as possible. Now one thing you can also do is you can use these brushes to help you kind of clean off these feed dogs. You can go in between all of the teeth and just really delint and just clean off all of that debris. And this brush works really good for the feed dogs because you can see it actually gets down in between the feed dogs and scrubs and cleans those. Once you go ahead and clean all of those feed dogs off, and you've used your cleaning swab to reach back here and just clean off anything around these lower and the upper looper, now you can just continue to kind of look around and move around on different angles and just grab as much as you can. So this oil and all this little staining right here is just from wiping and cleaning off the lint and debris. When you're doing that, you're also cleaning off oils off your machine. And those oils are important because that's what keeps the machine running nice and clean. So it's important after you do a good cleaning of your machine that you go back and oil everything. I'm gonna go ahead and drop a couple drops of oil onto this cleaning swab. And I actually kind of like to saturate this cleaning swab just enough right here on the end so like it changes a lighter color. You can see that there's oil on there. And then what I'll do is this is how I apply the oil onto my needle bar. So I'll just actually wipe up and down on this needle bar here. So that way that this metal shaft that's going into a sleeve bearing pretty much that's holding this needle bar in place is going to be nice and well lubricated. And you can just go ahead and move your needle bar up and down to make sure that oil is going into that bearing up there. So I'll just wipe some oil on there. So now my needle bar looks nice and shiny. And you're going to do the same exact thing to the presser foot bar on the back. What you'll do is you'll just put the foot down. You're going to wipe this oily cleaning swab all over that needle bar. And then you can just lift the needle bar up and down and kind of just make sure that it's working its way in there. So that's going to ensure that it's nice and well oiled. And you can do the same exact thing with your needle threader. So what I'll do is I'll lift my needles up. And I'll just go ahead and wipe on both sides of that needle threader shaft, making sure that is well lubricated as well. So not only are we oiling it, but this is actually helping preserve that metal and keeping it a nice shine and allowing it to not dry out and start having any surface rust, especially if you're working in or have your machine stored in a humid climate or in a sunroom or something of that nature. You can use this same exact concept for the side of your blade here, and that's just going to help preserve and keep it nice and clean and shiny. It's not really so much for lubricating it and the aspect of it functioning, but just more so to keep that metal nice and shiny and working. You don't want it to be dripping, so you can kind of go back and actually just dry it off if it looks like there's too much. But that just helps keep it nice and clean and healthy. Okay, so the next spot I'm going to oil is right here, and I'm just going to use my oiler to drop one little drop of oil right on that piece there. And the reason I'm doing that is you can actually see that this metal shaft is rotating within inside of this sleeve, this metal sleeve here. So it's important that there's oil on that. And you can actually see that there's even another spot on the inside here, which you could just do small little drop right there. If you can't reach that, it's not a big deal. As long as you get it right there, that's fine. The next spot we're going to be oiling is your lower looper shaft that's in that bearing right here. So you can actually see right back here where this main shaft comes out that hooks onto this bracket that hooks up to your lower looper. You're going to oil right back there on that little edge of that shaft, and that's going to help it remain smooth and well oiled. And the reason you're oiling that is the same concept as the other spot. If there is a shaft that's moving within a metal sleeve or a bearing of some sort, you're going to want oil right there on that edge. So it's important to drop a nice little drop of oil right there. The next spot I'm going to be dropping oil is going to be right here on this little ledge. And the reason I'm dropping oil there is you can also see that metal shaft is going up and down through that sleeve, that little bearing. And it's really important to have oil on that or it'll dry out and it won't be running very smooth. If you follow that shaft down, you'll see another little spot that it's connected, that it's moving and pivoting on. You can drop a little drop of oil right here on this edge as well, and that's going to help it stay nice and lubricated. Now you'll notice on your air threader Serger that there is a no oil sign right here, and this is where your thread is going through and being pumped through all of these hoses and going through your lower and upper looper. It's important to not get oil in those tubes on either of those sides, because if you have oil in there, it'll stick to your thread and your air threader will not work. So remember to make sure you do not throw any oil in the mouth of this lower or the entrance of this lower looper, and same thing with both of these tubes, or both of these tubes here. So you're not going to want to drop any oil in these holes or there. Only the spots that I pointed out is what you're going to be oiling. The only time any other parts will be oiled on this machine will be when you bring it in for a full service. So whenever I'm doing a cleaning and oiling on a Serger, this is typically a good time to inspect and make sure your points of your lower and your upper looper is free of any burrs or nicks, because that could be causing issues and stitch quality issues with your Serger. So just inspect and make sure that there's no nicks and burrs from needle breakages on any of these little components here, because that could be causing issues with your stitches. Now, one thing I want to point out is when you put your stitch plate back on, you're going to want to make sure your stitch finger is lowered. So I like to lower my stitch finger. I'm going to make sure my foot is back up, and that's when I can go ahead and put my stitch plate back on. So I'll actually close this door here. There we go. And then you're just going to line up that stitch plate. Make sure your stitch plate is the right direction and the holes are lining up for your faceplate screws. And then you can go ahead and tighten those down with your finger, and then go back with the T-screw and just hand tighten them. You don't need to over torque them or go anything crazy. I usually like to just get it nice and tight like there, and then I'll just do like a little bit more, and that's all you really need. I'm gonna go ahead and put our foot back on, our presser foot, and that should just snap right back into place, just like so. So now that we have the stitch plate on, we can go ahead and close up our little doors here. Just like that, we now know how to oil and service our machine. Now you might be wondering, how often should we oil and clean our Juki air threader Serger? Well, that's really truly dependent on how much you're using it. If your machine looks super linty and super dirty, go ahead and clean it and go ahead and do a little bit of oiling. If you're looking at your machine and after you delinted it, it still looks really oily from the last time, then sure, you might not really need to oil it anymore. But whenever you're done with a big project, it's always a good idea to open up those areas, take off your stitch plate, and just see how linty and dirty your machine is. And that's when you kind of base it on how often you should be cleaning your machine. If it's clean like this one was, you probably don't need to clean it. You just want to clean it when it's really dirty and it looks like it's ready for a cleaning. Now, as far as how often you should bring it in for a professional cleaning and service, we recommend once a year, or maybe once every 2 years if you're not using your machine very much, or maybe even every 6 months if you're using this machine all the time. So it really just depends on how often you are using it as a home sewer, on how often you should actually bring it into a certified Juki tech to do a full service. They're going to be taking off all of these plastic components on the back, the front, the bottom, and blowing out and cleaning all of the lint and debris that you can't reach on a regular cleaning and oiling that you would do at home, as if I just showed you. If you're interested in an oiling pen, these are fantastic to control how much oil you're dropping onto certain areas. The top just unscrews nice and simply, just like this, and you can use your refill bottle to top off the oil in the oiling pen, and then you can just go ahead and line up this little pin to the cap, tighten that back down, and you're ready to start reapplying your oil. It even has a little cap to kind of contain the needle point tip, so if it's dripping just ever so slightly, it won't be dripping all over your drawers because you have this cover on there. So if you're interested in this little oiling pen, don't forget to check out the link in the description to get that. They're really, really handy, and we love using them when we're oiling all of our machines, whether it's a TL or an air threader Serger. Comment down below some of the questions you might have on cleaning your air threader. I'll be happy to answer and respond to them. Give us a like and hit that subscribe button, because we post every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I hope you had a great day, and we'll see you next Sunday.